Howdy. Like the Eta 2 Jedi Starfighter Transformer, the concept Camaro mold has been released many times in different variations. Though at least this one's an actually good mold, rather than a not so bad mold. Usually I don't comment on the tech spec notes, but I have to say the one for this figure is pretty laughable, especially with the first few sentences. He's practically described as a celebrity. Stealth Bumblebee shares all the strengths and flaws of the other two, and there are no mold changes here. As for the colour scheme, well, in vehicle mode, it's basically a reversed version of this Bumblebee. Black becomes yellow and vice versa. While it's fairly appropriate given the name of this version, it's a pretty dull colour scheme in my opinion. There are still some mold detailing, but not so much in the way of paint apps. A side problem is that the colouring of the feet and the vehicle body don't match, so the feet are even more obvious from the sides than before. It's still a cool looking car, but I'd have to say that Cliffjumper looks the nicest out of the trio, in my opinion. The transformation is still no different. It's just as complex and just as fiddly to get back into vehicle mode, though you know which video to watch for that. Again, the robot mode has all the positives and negatives as the previous two in terms of the mold itself. However, the colour scheme isn't reversed here. While he retains some black from his car kibble, the rest is a combination of the original's yellow and a shiny bluish grey colour. It helps to differentiate things, though it's still not the most dynamic look to me. The mold detailing is as good as before, but the paint detailing is still fairly lacking. Though like Cliffjumper, he has some allspark blue markings in places. Perhaps the main thing that makes this version stand out from the other two is the new head mold. It's sculpted to resemble the battle mask seen on Bumblebee about 3/4 of the way through the film. This too adds to the variation, though the paint job is a little sloppy. It also looks rather small proportionately. Still, you gotta wonder why they didn't give Cliffjumper a head remold when looking at this. Overall, Stealth Bumblebee is a decent redeco of a strong mold, but you're bound to have at least one version by now, given the number of times it's been released. Even if you don't, I'd still recommend Cliffjumper the highest, unless you're a particularly big Bumblebee fan. For my next review, I'm going to be looking at the one, the only, animated